Hi everyone. Okay, so we will be discussing this topic under data structure and algorithm. So for the week 4, so analyzing control structures using a barometer, supplementary examples, average case analysis, sloping recurrences. Okay, so we will explore this in order for you to have an idea with this. Okay, so we have here following learning outcomes under this topic. So after studying this unit, you should be able to first analyze control structures, analyze second one, analyze algorithms using barometer. Third one, evaluate recursive algorithms, and then fourth one, analyze average case analysis of algorithms. Then next one is determine the time complexity of algorithms using amortization scheme. And lastly, for this is solve certain class of recurrences using characteristic equation. So on the next part, okay, of this slide, so again, introduction of analyzing control structure. When we say analysis of algorithms, okay, it is an essential for is a is an essential tool for solving the same problem. So if you have to decide which one is best suited for your application when you have several different algorithms. So usually proceeds from the inside out. So first we determine the time required by individual instructions. This time is often bounded by constant. Then we combine these times according to the control structures that combine the instructions in the algorithm. Okay, so let's say for example, if you are doing an application, okay, if you are creating a program application system, so you should be aware with those algorithms that you might be interested with in using it. So for the development of your program, so it is important for you to identify, or it is important for you to have a knowledge for each algorithm. So for you to have uh, an idea, so what the best algorithm that suits your desired output. Okay, let's say for example, there is a searching algorithm, sorting algorithm, the different sorting and searching algorithm that you might want to use. So you should have an idea to each algorithm in sorting or searching algorithm. So for you to analyze or for you to have an idea, so each algorithm, you should study those algorithm. So for you to evaluate, for you to analyze what will be the best algorithm for your proposed system, okay, or application. So in this case, again, if you have an idea on each algorithm, so you can provide your own output, or you can think of the output that will be involved in this certain application or system that you are targeting or creating. Okay, so might have or it is important to have an idea on each, okay, algorithm. Then so we have here sequencing, okay, or in analyzing control structure. So the analysis of algorithms usually proceeds from the inside out. So again, first we determine the time required for each individual instructions. Okay, so again, the time and this time in is often bounded by constant again. Okay, and then so some control structures such as sequencing, putting one instruction, okay, in the program. So, and then each instruction or after another are easy to analyze, whereas others such as while loops, okay, looping statement. I know you are aware with those looping statements. So we have the while, do while loop, okay, statement. So in this unit, we give general 28 principles that are useful in analysis involving the most frequently encountered control structures as well as examples of the application of these principles. Okay. Again, in sequencing, we have here an idea on algorithm. So let P1 and P2, so process 1, process 2, be two fragments of an algorithm. So they may be single instructions or complicated sub-algorithms. So let this T1 and T2 be the times taken by uh, the process 1 and process 2, okay, respectively. So in this case, okay, let's say for example the for loop. So for loops are the easiest loops to analyze. Consider the following. Okay, so let's say for example in this case, so we have here an example. Okay, so let's say for example we have here for I is equal to 1 to n minus 1 do. So I is equal to 1, then to n 1 do. Okay, so in this case, we have here the recursive call. So the analysis of recursive algorithms is usually straightforward, at least up to a point. So simple inspection of the algorithm often gives rise to a recurrence equation that mimics the flow of control in the program. Okay. Then again, in for loop, okay, so we need to discuss each line of algorithm. Okay, so let's say for example for I is equal to 1, and then I is less than, let's say for example 5, and then I plus plus. Okay, so let's say for example we have here example for here is for the uh, Java syntax. Okay, let's say for example, we have here I is equal to 4, so semicolon. So I, let's say for example, uh, okay, so I less than 5, semicolon, then I plus plus. Okay, so we have here open curly brace, we have here the SOP, okay, SOP, and then so open and close parenthesis. We have here I, so semicolon, and then we have the close curly brace. So meaning, so here on the first line, so I has the value of 4. Okay, so 4. When we compare this, we are comparing with, okay, let's say for example, we are comparing here. So 4 less than 5. So in 4 less than 5, okay, so this will be true. Okay, so since mas mababa yung 4 sa 5. So the statement is true, then it will display, so I is equal to 4. So it will display 4. Then next, so the next iteration, since we have here I plus plus, so 4 plus 1, so this will be 5. Okay, and then we will change this to 5. Then compare. So 5 less than 5, so false. Then the program will now terminate. Okay? So yun po ah. So pag hindi niya na na-satisfy yung condition, yung pinakagitna, okay? So pag nag-error na doon, pag hindi niya na na-satisfy, then okay, titigil na yung program mo. Pero pag nasatisfy niya, tuloy-tuloy po yan. Let's say, for example, what if, okay, may equal po dyan. So, I or 4 less than 5. So, that will be okay. 5 less than or equal to 5. Okay. So, it will display 5 since according to the syntax, the algorithm, so 5 is equal to 5. Okay? Siyempre, pag 5 is equal to 5, that is equal, okay? So, that will be true. Okay? Ngayon, sunod. So, since true, increment ulit. So, magiging 6. Okay? And then, this will be 6. So, 6 less than 5, then, tigil yung program. Tigil. Kasi, 6 is less than 5 or 6 is less than or equal to 5 is false. Okay? So, since mas malaki na yung 6, so it will not be less than or equal to 5. Okay? Doon tumitigil yung program. So, kaya nga mas gusto kong gamitin ang for loop. So, for the looping statement, since, ayun po, ay kinoconsider ko po yon na one line lang babasahin niya. So, andun na lahat yung kailangan mo. Okay? Then, while and repeat loops. So, while and repeat loops are usually under, okay, to analyze than for loops because there is no obvious a priori way to know how many times we shall have to go round the loop. So, the standard technique for analyzing these loops is to find a function of the variables involved. Those value decreases each time around. So you cannot keep decreasing an integer independently. Okay. The next. So using a barometer. So we have here. Okay. So in this case, so the analysis of many algorithms is significantly simplified when one instruction or on tests can be singled out as barometer. So a barometer instruction is one that is executed at least as often as any other instruction in the algorithm. Okay, there is no harm if some instructions are executed up to a constant number of times more often than the barometer. Okay, since their contribution is absorbed in the asymptotic notation. Okay, so provided the time taken by each instruction is bounded by a constant, the time taken by the entire algorithm is in the exact order of the number of times that the barometer instruction is needed or executed. So in this case, okay, so this is useful because it allows us to neglect the exact times taken by each instruction. So in particular, it avoids the need to introduce constants such as those bounding the time taken by various elementary operations which are meaningless since they depend on the implementation. And they are discarded when the final result is expressed in terms of asymptotic notation. So for example, consider the analysis of, let's say, the 5-liter algorithm when we count all arithmetic operations at unit cost. We saw that the algorithm takes a time bounded above, okay, for some meaningless constant c, and therefore that it takes time, okay, for this to at least consider the needed portion of the algorithm. Okay, so since this algorithm involves several nested loops, so when we say nested loop, okay, let's say for example we have here loop 1, and then when we create another for loop here, okay, so it is a nested loop. So inside the one for loop, let's say here we have for loop 1, and then we have here the open curly brace, we have the inner loop, then we have here the open curly brace, and then we have the statement close curly brace, close curly brace. Okay, so again, we have here the first loop, okay, outside loop, and then we have the inner loop. So this is a nested loop when when you are solving something, some certain algorithm under the array. Okay, under array portion wherein you might need the inner loop for you to get the result, for you to get the process or input, process and output. So for you to have the certain result for this. Okay, so that's how the nested loop works. And so any instruction of the innermost loop can usually be used as a barometer. Let's say, for example, if the inner loop satisfy the condition, so mag-output lang po yan. So sabi ko kanina, once na sinasatisfy mo yung condition, so once puro true yung statement, yung condition, so display lang siya ng display. Ngayon, pag yung inner loop mo naging false yung statement, babalik siya dun sa outer loop. Yung outer loop mo ngayon, so pag naging okay yung statement, okay, so babalik siya ulit dun sa inner loop and then ipaprocess niya ulit. So pag nag-false yung inner loop mo and then lalabas ulit kay outer loop. Ngayon, pag nag-false yung outer loop mo, tigil yung buong program. Okay? Tigil na yung statement na yon. So depende doon sa program mo. Okay? So that's how this work. Okay? So ayun po, medyo crucial kasi pag gumamit ka ng nested loop, since you should have an idea on how you will use the two loops or the nested loop para makuha mo yung input and then i-process niya and then for you to have a good output. So for this, okay, then next, so we have the supplementary example. So in this section, so we study several additional examples of analysis of algorithms involving loops, recursion, and the use of barometers. So we have the selection sort. So let's consider a selection sorting algorithm or technique as shown below. So which is a good example of for the analysis of nested loops. Right ito. Okay. So we have here, so outer loop and then the inner loop. So we have nested loop here. Here is the statement. Okay, may statement po yan, may if else, and so on. Yan. So again, pag nasa-satisfy yung inner loop, so hindi lalabas yan. Okay? So hindi siya lalabas. So lalabas lang siya pag naging false yung statement mo. Pupunta siya doon kay outer loop. So again, yung outer loop mo naging okay. Yung statement, papasok ulit siya dito, pupunta siya ulit sa inner loop. Ngayon, satisfy, puro true yung statement mo. So hanggang dun lang. Again, pag nagkaroon ng X, okay, na false yung statement mo, babalik ka ulit kay outer loop. So yung outer loop, pag nagkaroon ng false statement, false condition, that's the time na wala na to. Hindi niya na i-execute. So yung syntax mo dito, yung code mo dito, so kung may next na code ka, may next portion of code or syntax, then doon po yung susunod. Yung for loop na yan, so dead man niya na yan kasi natapos na yung condition mo doon eh. So kung may next program ka pa or next syntax, so yun naman yung gagawin niya. Okay? So that's how the supplementary or barometer supplementary example works under selection sort. Then, insertion sort. Okay? So those algorithm, let's say for example, this sorting algorithm, so I'll be showing you this Yung codes niya, or I'll be explaining the codes, okay, kasi puro ano to eh, puro pseudocode yung pinapakita ko. So I'll be explaining the Java codes na pwede nating ma-program on the next meeting. Okay? So in insertion sort, so let's consider one more sorting technique called the insertion sort for analysis. Okay? So we have here the procedure for insertion sorting is as shown here. We have the pseudocode. Okay, so for I is equal to 2n, 2n, do, and then x is less than 2 or equal to t, I, then j less than I is equal to 1, so while j, and so on. Okay, so this is the insertion sort pseudocode. Okay, so unlike the selection sorting, so the time taken to sort n times, okay, pag n, so wala siyang exact number, kaya n yung nilagay dyan. So n times by insertion depends significantly on the original order of the elements. So here, we analyze this algorithm in the worst case. Okay? So again, insertion sort. So let's consider one more sorting technique called insertion sort for analysis. So the procedure for instruction sorting is as shown below. So we have here procedure insert. So for I is equal to 2 to n, then x is equal to t, then yung array, kasi may array po yan, when we see this part, this one, so array po yan. Okay, so hope you have an idea on array. Ayan po, so array po yan. Okay, so medyo mahirap pag-aralan, so but then, okay, so ituturo ko naman po unti-unti yung syntax, yung code in Java. Okay, so for now, I'll be discussing this pseudocode so for you to have an idea naman. Okay. So unlike selection sorting, so the time taken to sort n times items or n items by insertion depends significantly on the original order of the elements. So here, we analyze this algorithm in the worst case scenario. Okay. Then, so we have the average case analysis. So under this, so we saw that insertion sort takes quadratic time in the worst case. On the other hand, it is easy to show that it succeeds in linear time in the best case. So it is natural to wonder about its efficiency on the average. Okay, so for the question to make sense, we must be precise, okay, about the meaning of on the average. Okay? So this requires us to assume on a priori conclusion or priori probability distribution on the instances that our algorithm may be asked to solve. Okay? So the conclusion of an average case analysis may depend crucially on this assumption, and such analysis may be misleading if our assumption turns out not to correspond with the reality of the application that uses the algorithm. So most of the time, average case analysis are performed under the more or less realistic assumption that all instances of any given size are equally likely. So for sorting problems, so it is simpler to assume also that all the elements to be sorted are distinct. Okay. So suppose we have here, we have an n distinct elements to sort. Okay. Sort by insertion, and all n permutation of these elements are equally likely. Okay. And so on. Then, so we have amortized analysis. Okay. So worst case analysis is sometimes overlay uh, pessimistic. So consider, for instance, a process P that has side effects. So which means that P modifies the value of global variables. So this approach yields a correct answer assuming we are satisfied with an analysis in O notation, but the answer could be pessimistic. Consider, for instance, the following loop. So for I is equal to 1 to N do P. Ayan po. Then, there are two main techniques to establish amortized analysis results, so the potential function approach and the accounting trick. Okay? So potential functions, so suppose the process to be analyzed modifies a database. So we associate with the database a notion of cleanliness, known as the potential function of the database. So we define the amortized time taken by that call as we have here. So Tj, then yung Tj is equal to Tj plus I minus I or minus theta j minus 1. So let Tn denote the total time required for the first n calls on the process and denote the total amortized time by. Okay, so therefore, what is the amortized cost? We're adding 1 to the counter in terms of the number of times we go around the loop. So there are three cases to consider. So if the counter represents an even integer, so we go around the loop once only as we flip the rightmost bit from 0 to 1. So if all the bits in the counter are equal to 1, so we go around the loop and m times, flipping all those bits to 0. Okay? Then, in all other cases, so each time we go around the loop, we decrease the potential by 1 since we flip a bit from 1 to 0, except for the last trip around the loop when we increase the potential by 1 since we flip a bit from 0 to 1. Okay? Then, so in conclusion, okay, the amortized cost of adding 1 to a binary counter is always exactly equivalent to going around the loop twice, except that it costs nothing when the counter cycles back to 0. So the counting trick, so this technique can be thought of as a restatement of the potential function approach, yet it is easier to apply in some contexts. So to use the accounting trick, so you must set up a virtual bank account, so which initially contains 0 tokens. Okay, so this proves that the account is never overdrawn since the number of bits set to 1 cannot be negative, and therefore each call on count costs at most 2 tokens in the amortized sense. Okay, so let's say, for example, solving recurrences. So the indispensable last step when analyzing an algorithm is often to solve a recurrence equation. So this is the main topic of this section. So the technique of the characteristics equation. We have here intelligent guesswork. So this approach generally proceeds in 4 stages. So calculate the first few values of their occurrence. Look for regularity. Consider the following recurrence. Okay, we have here. So Tn is equal to 0 over 3t n minus 2 times plus n. So if n is equal to 0, otherwise, okay. So one of the first lessons experience will teach you if you try solving recurrences is that, okay, discontinuous functions, okay, and then such the floor function implicit in n divide by 2. Okay? And then, so it in this case, we are hard to analyze. Okay? Once is special, so once this special case is handled, okay, so the general case follows painlessly in asymptotic notation. So first we tabulate the value of the current or recurrence on the first few powers of 2. So n, okay, so we have here n, so 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So tn, so 1, 5, 19, 65, 2, 11, 6, 65. Okay, so that's what we are getting the result, okay, on this example, on this case. Okay, and then so we continue in this way, writing n as n explicit power of n. So 1, 1, 2, 2, so 3 times 1, so plus 2, and then 2 raised to 2. So we have 4 on that. Okay, 2 raised to 3, we have 8. 2 raised to 4, we have 16. 2 raised to 5, we have uh, 32. Okay, so you need to follow this instruction for you to get the result. So for you to get this, so we are now convinced that the above equation is correct. So when the result here are okay. So what happens when n is not a power of 2? So fortunately, so this is unnecessary if we are happy to obtain the answer is asymptotic notation. So since n is equal to 2k, it follows that k is equal to LGN. So therefore, Tn or T multiply n is equal to T 2 logarithmic of n. So is equal to 3L plus logarithmic of n minus 2L plus logarithmic of n. So when n is a power of 2, so using conditional asymptotic notation, we conclude that n is a power of 2. Okay? And then, homogeneous recurrences. So we begin our study of the technique of the characteristics equation with the resolution of homogeneous linear, okay, recurrences with constant coefficients, that is recurrences of the form. Okay, so this equation typically has infinitely many solutions. So recurrences is linear because it does not contain terms of the form and so on. So homogeneous because the linear combination of the Tn is equal to 0. And with constant coefficients because the AI, okay, are constant. Consider, for instance, our now familiar recurrence for the Fibonacci sequence. So consider for the instance our new, okay, Fibonacci case. So we have here. So trying to solve you easy example of recurrences of the form of equation 4.7. Okay, not the Fibonacci sequence by intelligent guesswork suggests looking for solution of the form. So where x is a constant, okay, as yet unknown, if we try, okay, this guess solution in equation 4.7, okay. So we have here an example of equation. Okay, so example, Fibonacci, consider the recurrence, okay? So pag sinabi kasing Fibonacci, let's say for example, we have here a series of number. So we have here, so may 1 plus 1. Pag nag 1 plus 1, susunod niyan 2. So ito na naman kukunin mo. So una, ito yung kinukuha mo. Susunod, pag nakuha mo na, ito naman. 1 plus 2, that will be 3. Susunod, 2 plus 3, so that will be 5. Susunod, 3 plus 5, that will be 8. So, and so on. Okay? So, that's how the Fibonacci sequence number work. So, how you will program this into, or how you will implement this into equation or into programming language. Or, ayun po. So, paano mo siya ipoprogram? Okay? So, by getting this xy, okay, and then plus, magka-plus sila yung result. So, pupunta siya kay for loop. Okay? So, I'm using here the for loop looping statement. Okay? So, okay? So, again, I'll be discussing, okay? So, I'll be discussing those syntax. I'll be sharing you those syntax in the form of Java program. Okay, so next meeting, so for you to understand, for you to know how we can use those algorithm, like for example, searching algorithm. So paano ba? Unti-untiin po natin yan. So for you to understand each algorithm, okay, and then, so para makagawa kayo ng mismong program nyo, algo nyo, okay? So first thing is, again, we must understand the algorithm itself bago kayo makapag-program. Kasi kung hindi nyo naintindihan yung algorithm, then you cannot perform your programming. Okay, hindi ka makapag-develop ng maayos. Okay? So, that's it. That's the end of my presentation. So, hope you have learned from this. Okay? So, thank you for listening.